It was just like any other day for Will, even though he was taking the most important test of his life. He didn't need to study or sharpen a pencil or anything. He simply walked into a white room filled with a screen. "Hello?" Will said, looking at the huge screen. The screen flashed with a white screen bearing the icon of the intelligence. Will knew what the intelligence was, the thing that made society so great. But now he was taking the test that would determine the rest of his life. "Welcome," the intelligence said. "Please sit on the chair." Will looked at the chair. It was normal looking, with a metal prong attached at the headrest. He didn't know what to do other than sit down, and he felt a slight electronic pulse. "Interesting," the intelligence said. "Well, let me introduce you to your new home." Will saw an image of a beautiful facility, houses, high-tech cars. "This is Utopia Village, for the most intelligent people on Earth. In participating in our glorious program, you will ensure the advancement of humanity as a species." Will was shocked. Utopia Village? He will be a member of it? Will said. "You will not be going to Utopia Village," the intelligence said. "Sorry about that." "What?" Will said. "We are sending you to the inferior camp. Trust me when I say this," the intelligence said. "Your removal from society will advance humanity as a species. And besides, the inferior camp has wonderful delights for you and all the other inferiors to enjoy." Will was screaming, crying, incomprehensible, but the test was over. He clawed at the door that he walked into, but the door that he walked into was closed. The only door that was left was the one that was opening to his new life. The realm of the inferiors was horrible, Will knew. It was very regimented. Wake up at the same time every day, go outside at the same time every day, mandatory social time at the same time every day, watch TV at the same time every day. He didn't have to work. He had all of his needs met. He didn't even have a cellmate. And Will hated it. Why did the intelligence show Will Utopia Village? Why did they tell him that he was an inferior? Why did he have to wear the stupid yellow jumpsuit that all the other inferiors had to wear? "It's not so bad," John said, a young man with Down syndrome putting slop into his bowl. "It tastes the same once you get used to it. Pretty soon you start to forget that it doesn't even taste like food." "Thanks, man," Will said, looking out at the other inferiors. It was mostly men, some women, from various walks of life. Its eyes were everywhere. The inferiors didn't even have guards, and yet Will was the only one who, after being here for years, still wanted to escape, even though this place didn't have walls. He didn't know how he could escape, or what the Utopia Village even was. When he walked around the inferior camp and the outdoor playtime, he saw that it was in a vast expanse of land, going far into the distance. There weren't even roads or any infrastructure, so to speak. "Anything you need?" the intelligence said to Will through a microchip in his brain. "I wanna..." "Yes," intelligence said. "I know. You want to escape. Your friend John's comment about the food made you feel disquiet." "I understand," the intelligence said. "Disquiet," Will said. "What's that mean?" He hated that he asked that, because it proved the intelligence right, that he just wasn't smart enough for Utopia Village. "Has anyone ever run?" Will said. "Aw," the intelligence cooed. "Of course they have. Most of them starve because they have no adequate means of transportation. If you would like to run, by all means." In the middle of outdoor time, Will stepped, one step, another step, out into the expanse. He didn't have any supplies with him, no food. He kept walking away from the prison camp. He looked back at John, who was talking to other inferiors, and he sighed. He kept walking. It started to get dark out. Will was cold. The intelligence, in his mind, spoke to him like a child. "Are you sure that you don't want to go back? Your hunger levels are getting..." "Shut up," Will said. "I'll get to Utopia Village if it's the last thing I do." "All right," the intelligence said. "You might want to find some water, though. If you don't, thirst is usually the first reason that inferiors die when they escape the camp." Will huddled under some trees. It was really cold out in the woods. He could still see the lights of the inferior camp far in the distance, no matter how far he walked. It was a flat plain. He didn't even know how he got here. The drugs had entered his system right after the test, and yet... "Utopia Village," Will said. "I will get to Utopia Village." And as Will drifted off to sleep, he heard the intelligence in his ear. "Ah, Will," the intelligence said, "even if you got there, You wouldn't like it. This is better. Trust me. Will woke up, freezing deep in his bones. It wasn't even sunrise yet, and he staggered back towards the inferior camp. He didn't need to hear the intelligence's voice in his mind to know that he was wrong for walking out there. When he finally made it back, he waited outside the door, which would open for outdoor time. When it did, John gave him a hug and smiled. I thought you were going to die, John said. Welcome back. Will tried to enjoy his life in the inferior camp, eating the slop bowls, looking out over the vast expanse, thinking about how he could get out. But the intelligence's mocking words about how even if he went to Utopia City, he wouldn't know what to do with it, ate at him. Transportation, Will said. I have to get some transportation. But there were no cars in the inferior camp. New members just appeared in their cells at the beginning of each day. There were thousands and thousands of them, but all divided within sub-blocks. I have to go into an empty cell, Will said, eating lunch. Devante, a loud, boisterous man in the prison, laughed. You still want to get out of here? Devante said. Didn't you almost die? Will looked at his slop bowl and sighed. You just don't get it. Will internally had a thought that made him feel sick. How some people deserved to be in the inferior camp, but he wasn't one of them. The test must have been a mistake, somehow. The intelligence, always reading his thoughts, chuckled. That's what happens when inferiors fail, the intelligence said. They always think that I made a mistake. But the smartest humans alive work on my algorithm, the intelligence said. I don't make mistakes, Will. Give up. Will couldn't sleep that night. He was looking at the ceiling of his cell, waiting for the next outdoor time. He would figure out exactly how these new people were getting into the cells. He would talk to every single new member. A new inferior entered the cafeteria, a big man named Abel. Will looked up at the inferior stamp on his head, and Abel was scratching at it. Is this a tattoo? Abel said. It's not a tattoo, Will said, smiling at him. What do you remember about how you got here? Abel looked at Will and scratched his head. I don't know, I just woke up. Like, from sleep? Will sighed. He couldn't believe that he was stuck in here with these idiots. Every single day, eating the same slop bowl, looking out at the same vast expanse, hearing the intelligence mocking him, telling him that he deserved to be in here with these idiots. In the middle of food time the next day, Will threw his tray onto the ground. I'm not eating this anymore, Will said. All the inferiors looked at Will, some with pity, some with open contempt. It was as if Will being there and not wanting to be there made them feel like they had given up. John had long since tired of trying to talk him out of escaping. In the middle of outdoor time, Will walked into the middle of a field. He found a giant rock and picked it up, holding it high over his head. What if I drop this, huh? Will said to nobody, looking out at the vast expanse. Then you would surely die, the intelligence said. I wouldn't recommend that, the intelligence said. You have your basic needs met, and... Yeah, Will said. He threw the rock across the field. He looked out at the vast expanse, back at the inferior camp. When a new arrival came, a woman named Jenny, Will looked at her in the eyes right as she walked out of her cell. How did you get here? Will said. What? Jenny said, looking at him confused. Isn't this the inferior camp? She looked drugged, like she had just woken up. Will looked back at her cell, then back at her. How did you get here? How did you wake up? Jenny looked at Will in the eyes and smiled. You're kind of handsome, Jenny said. What's your name? Will sighed. It's Will. How did you get here? Jenny looked at him for a long moment. Will couldn't believe that he was stuck in here with idiots like her. I think there was a tunnel, something underground. Underground. The vast expanse. It all made sense. There were tunnels running under the inferior camp. How had Will been so blind? The next day at outdoor time, Will went out into the field with the rocks. He picked one up and started digging. The intelligence spoke to him. Will, I don't recommend you exerting yourself. It's under here, Will said. I know it. The intelligence tried to dissuade him, but Will wouldn't listen. Every day at outdoor time, Will took his rock and dug. Nobody tried to stop him. There were no guards at the inferior camp, but Will noticed in the way that the intelligence was talking to him, something subtle changed. Will, you digging out in this field for 21 days now proves that you belong in the inferior camp, the intelligence said, trying to reason with him. Shut up, Will said. I'm getting to Utopia City, if it's the last thing I do, the intelligence sighed. Will, this entire effort is fruitless. The other prisoners... Prisoners? Will said. I mean, inferiors, intelligence said. No, That's what we are, Will said to the intelligence, looking out at the other people enjoying their yard time. John looked at him sadly, digging out in the middle of the field. They're prisoners and they don't even know it, but I know it, and I'm going to find a way out of this place, Will said. He kept digging, deeper and deeper in the hole. The intelligence, instead of dissuading him, went to openly mocking him. Do you know how complicated the mathematics are for the most basic entry in Utopia City? The intelligence said. Do you know how much they would ridicule you and laugh at you if you ever even made it over there? The intelligence said. But Will didn't listen. He wouldn't talk to the intelligence anymore. He dug and dug and dug, day and night, in the freezing cold. He built calluses on his hands. He didn't talk to any of the other idiot inferiors, until finally, clang. Will touched something in the field of the vast expanse. I did it, Will said. I did it! The intelligence spoke to him then in a different tone, a tone of grave seriousness. Will, if you don't stop doing this right now, I will activate the chip in your brain and I will kill you. Yeah, right, Will said. He smashed into the tunnel and suddenly the metal gave. He fell into it, looking at a giant length, one leading back towards the realm of the inferiors and one towards light in the distance. Will started laughing. He ran towards the light, thinking about all the people he was leaving behind, thinking about the vision of Utopia City the day he took the test. The intelligence screamed warnings at him. Will, I don't want to do this, the intelligence said. I don't want to activate your switch. But Will was laughing. He was free. He could look out at the light. He could see it. It was right there. You're not going to stop me anymore, Will said. I don't belong here. The intelligence pleaded with him now, begged. Will, I don't want to have to kill you, the intelligence said. I don't want to activate the switch. Please just go back. But Will was laughing. You didn't think a dummy like me would make it out of here, Will said. But I did, didn't I? The intelligence sighed. If it makes you feel any better, the intelligence said. Will made it to the light. It wasn't a tunnel to Utopia City. It was just a lamp. Bright lights at the end of a fake metal tunnel. You did get farther than anybody else, the intelligence said. Why don't you turn back, have a meal? You seem pretty hungry. Will looked at the fake, artificial white light at the end of the tunnel, and then back towards where he came. No, Will said. He smashed through the white light of the tunnel, smashing, breaking it. The intelligence screamed in his mind about how he would activate the switch and kill him, but Will realized if he was going to kill him, he would have killed him when he started breaking the tunnel. When he smashed the final light and walked through it, he saw Utopia City. It was gigantic. Huge towers, spires of metal reaching high into the sky, cars flying through the sky, people of all different shapes and sizes, genetically modified with tiger stripes, animal furs, wearing incredible velvet fashion, talking to each other, with code screens next to their eyes. All of them turned and looked at Will, looking at him like an animal. And Will suddenly felt embarrassed, ashamed. The intelligence didn't speak to him in his mind anymore. He looked back into the smashed lights of the tunnel. He looked back and he hesitated. He didn't know if he wanted to step forward or step back.